Nightwing is now officially richer than Batman. But how did it happen? Batman may not have any superhuman abilities, but he usually has one superpower: his super wealth. As Bruce Wayne, Batman has always had seemingly infinite resources to fund his vigilante war on crime. He's got a garage full of Batmobiles, super advanced computer, and he's often the one funding the Justice League. In the DC universe, Bruce Wayne has always been one of the wealthiest people in the world. But now, his wealth is actually surpassed by his protege and former sidekick, Dick Grayson, the man better now known as Nightwing. And the story behind it all is pretty insane. The death of Alfred Pennyworth. During the City of Bane event, the muscular villain took over Gotham City after beating Batman down and having him dragged through the desert to die. To keep the Bat's allies out of the city, Bane took faithful butler Alfred Pennyworth captive. He threatened to kill Alfred if any of Batman's allies attempted to stop him. When Bruce's son, Damian, snuck into the city, believing the other members of the Bat family were being cowardly, he found himself caught and knocked unconscious by one of Bane's lackeys. When Damian woke up, he found himself across the room with Alfred, who begged Bane for mercy. Alfred wasn't concerned about what would happen to him, but begged Bane not to do it in front of the boy. But Bane needed to make a point. As the helpless and tied-up Robin looked on, Bane broke Alfred's neck. It is one of the darkest moments in recent Batman history, and the death of Alfred continues to have ripple effects on the entire Bat family. None more than Nightwing. Batman soon returned to Gotham and defeated both Bane and the dark and twisted version of his father. But he was too late to rescue Alfred. There was now a gaping hole at the center of the Bat family. And somehow, things only got worse for Batman. Batman loses all his money. Bruce would have no time to take it easy after Alfred's death. He and Gotham City would both have to overcome an evil plot by Batman's arch nemesis, the Joker. With the help of his new sidekick, Punchline, Joker initiated a master plan to throw Gotham into chaos and ruin Batman's life. Joker, who now knew Batman's secret identity, had an epic master plan. He overwhelmed the city with clown rioters and drugged Batman, causing him to see visions of his dead parents and Alfred. With Bruce thrown off by the toxin, Joker was able to steal the Wayne fortune and use it for his killer brand of mischief. Joker kidnapped Lucius Fox and used Batman's armory of gadgets and weaponry to rain terror on Gotham. The resulting Joker War was an epic battle for the soul of Gotham City that required the full strength of the entire Bat family to win. Because of Joker's revelation during the war that Bruce Wayne was funding Batman and his armory, the people of Gotham and the Wayne Tech Board of Directors no longer trusted Bruce. He was out as the head of his family company. At the end of the war, the stolen Wayne fortune was deposited into the bank account of Bruce's old ally, Lucius Fox. Lucius warned Bruce that though the funds had been reclaimed, it was too risky to give it back to him. After the funds were stolen, there was going to be a lot more scrutiny on their spending. That meant continuing to fund Batman was impossible. Without the money, you'll be under far less scrutiny, and you will be able to continue to operate as Batman. But it will have to be a leaner Batman. No more rocket ships or satellites or sophisticated AI drones that know how you're gonna get punched before you do. Bruce told Lucius to keep the money. Without a stake in his family company and his assets frozen, Bruce Wayne found himself having to go back to the basics. Gone were the fancy toys and super advanced drones. He moved out of the mansion into an apartment in the middle of Gotham City, shut down the Batcave, and had to dig out his own underground headquarters. How Nightwing got richer than Batman. At the same time, Dick Grayson was returning to his city of Bloodhaven. After moving back into the apartment building he had purchased and rescuing a three-legged dog from abuse, Dick was ready to start fresh. It was a new chapter for Nightwing, but without the Wayne fortune, things were looking complicated. Dick Grayson might need a job. But fate had other plans. Hopefully, you plan to subscribe with notifications on. As he returned to his apartment, Nightwing realized something was wrong. someone had snuck in. The former Boy Wonder prepared himself for a fight and leaped through the window. But the intruder caught him mid-air and tossed him into the wall. Dick was shocked that someone was able to outmaneuver him, but it made sense once he saw who the intruder was. Barbara Gordon, the original Batgirl. Barbara had come to change Nightwing's life. He had missed the reading of Alfred's will. Unknown to anyone, Alfred had amassed a fortune of his own and was secretly a billionaire. In an emotional letter, Alfred explained both how he had gained his fortune and why he wished to leave it to Dick Grayson. As Bruce's legal guardian following the death of his parents, Alfred received both a large amount of Wayne Industries stock and a portion of the vast Wayne fortune. With smart investments, the money had been growing for years. Before his death, Alfred planned to use the money in a way that it might do the most good. He had planned to come to the boy for advice.
Like Bruce, your mind is astonishing. You can think in ways no one else can. I couldn't think of better hands to leave this fortune in. I believe you will see this not as personal gain, but as an opportunity. Because I believe in Dick Grayson.
Nightwing vowed to use the money to honor his deceased father figure and make a difference in his adopted city of Blüdhaven. Blüdhaven was as corrupt as Gotham, but crueler. No one embodied that corruption more than Blockbuster, a giant superpowered thug who ruled the criminal underworld. He also secretly controlled the police and local government. Blockbuster wasn't afraid to kill anyone who crossed him or just annoyed him. The villain would become Nightwing's biggest obstacle to making a difference. After encountering a tent city in the middle of Blüdhaven, where dozens of children lived without housing, Nightwing knew what he had to do. Grayson had experienced a lot in his life, from losing his parents to battling crime as Robin, but he always had someone there to catch his fall. His parents, Batman, the Teen Titans, and even the other Robins. Drawing from his background in the circus, he would use Alfred's funds to catch others who had fallen. He could take on the corruption and root it out. Blockbuster and the other criminals getting rich at the expense of others wouldn't take that lying down, which is why Nightwing would soon go beyond Batman's way of doing things. Nightwing surpasses Batman. Even after the loss of his company and most of his fortune, Bruce Wayne was still a rich man. But he was no longer a super billionaire with access to near infinite resources. With Alfred's money, Dick Grayson's wealth now surpasses Bruce Wayne's. But the former Boy Wonder had his own unique view about what to do with that money. Even though he had grown up for most of his life at Batman's side, he was still a circus boy at heart. Nightwing had no need for luxury and was far more reliant on his acrobatics and instincts than Batman was. He didn't need a Batcave or supercomputers, just enough cash in the bank to keep a roof over his head and supplies in stock. After all, he grew up surrounded by circus tents and traveling around the country. Nightwing wanted to do things differently. Bruce Wayne was no doubt generous, using his fortune and company to employ the disenfranchised, setting up countless charitable organizations and providing services throughout Gotham. He almost single-handedly funded the rebuild of the city after it was destroyed by a massive earthquake in the classic No Man's Land story. But he also used his seemingly endless fortune on crime fighting and technology for himself and the Justice League. In recent years, he had been creating supercomputers and drones and robots to take care of the Batcave and his armory. He had a battalion of Batjets. There was no shortage of technology and toys for his crime-fighting career. But that wasn't Nightwing's style. Talking to Barbara, Dick explained that he did not want his legacy to just be the fights he had as Nightwing. He wanted to leave something behind that could last after he's gone. "What's so heroic about punching bad guys and then waiting to punch more?" he asked. Grayson wanted to establish something that would save people for the long term. He wanted to do more than just stop some supervillains. He wanted to make the world a better place. He knew that Bruce had always done charitable things, but he believed his mentor had the potential to do more good for more people as Bruce Wayne than as Batman. He would start with the young people of the city. It was bad enough that they lived on the streets, but the homeless of Bloodhaven were also being killed and harassed by superpowered criminals like Brutal and Electrocutioner. Nightwing could stop the villains if he was nearby without a problem, especially with the help of allies like Tim Drake. They were superheroes after all, but it didn't solve the heart of the issue. Stopping criminals didn't help address the issues that led people to a life of crime. Fighting bad guys like Killer Croc or Deathstroke wouldn't help put a roof over a child's head. It's not that he thought it was wrong to be a superhero, but now he saw a way to help even more people. He had big ideas. He talked to some of his most trusted friends, the Titans, Lucius Fox, even Superman about them. Bloodhaven had to change. Dick called a press conference, and he was nervous. It would be easier in a mask. Barbara supported him. It's time for Dick Grayson to be a hero. In front of the press, Grayson made an announcement. He did not think it was right for one person to have so much when so many have so little. So he was going to give it away by establishing one of the world's largest, self-sustaining, purely philanthropic foundations. And most of that work would start in Bloodhaven. The first goal? Make sure anyone living on the streets has shelter within a month. Too many good people in Bloodhaven had fallen. It's time someone caught them. It's a testament to how Bruce Wayne and Alfred Pennyworth raised the young man that he would seek to make such an impact. Bruce always used his money behind the scenes, but Grayson wanted to be active in his city and hands-on. Batman lives in the shadows, but the former Robin was always ready to step into the spotlight. He would keep fighting supervillains by night as Nightwing, but his world saving would now be done in public, in the community, as Dick Grayson as well. As he announced his plan to use his wealth to combat the powerful and corrupt interests who prey on the weak, a bloody and angry Blockbuster looked on. But Grayson was not afraid of what criminals and supervillains might do to him. He was Batman's son, after all. What was the name of this bold new endeavor? The Alfred Pennyworth Foundation. Nightwing's rich life. Nightwing's good intentions set him at odds with the criminal element in Bloodhaven. It was these thugs who were really in charge of the city, and in charge of them all was the Kingpin, Blockbuster. A hit was put out on Dick Grayson. He was now the most wanted man in Bloodhaven. Grayson was used to people wanting him dead as Nightwing, but his secret identity being targeted made things much more complicated. With a $10 million bounty on his head, assassins chased him through the streets and invaded his home. Nightwing was able to fight some of the gunmen in his apartments, but others kidnapped his dog, Haley. Trying to kill Dick Grayson is one thing, but kidnapping his dog? That's just low. Nightwing chased the kidnappers through Bloodhaven, and with Batgirl's help, took down the attackers and saved Haley, aka Bitewing. His dog was safe, but Dick now knew that his good deeds might put his closest friends at risk too. At the opening of the new shelter, Dick was almost assassinated, but his allies and friends on the Titans were able to stop one of the snipers and save Dick from the other. They even prepared an upgraded costume for him. More assassins invaded the groundbreaking ceremony. They stormed the stage and demanded the crowd bring them Grayson. But Nightwing and the Flash, Wally West, arrived on scene to take down the attackers. They were soon joined by the rest of the Titans, who worked together to apprehend the thugs. The hockey mask-wearing gunmen were no match for the family of heroes, and soon the Titans tracked down the man who hired the killers. They threatened Blockbuster and warned him that Dick Grayson was under their protection. He would have to tread carefully. But the warning was not enough to stop the criminal from trying to undermine Grayson's work. He had too much power at risk of being torn down by a do-gooder philanthropist. Now, the biggest threat to the criminals in Bloodhaven was not Nightwing, but Dick Grayson. Blockbuster needed Grayson dead before he could cause any more problems. The next attempt on Dick's life was to blow up his apartment. Not exactly a subtle assassination technique. Thankfully, he was warned in time to save everyone who lived in the building. But After his dog was kidnapped and his neighbors were nearly murdered, Nightwing felt even more guilty that others were being put at risk. That guilt quickly became anger. It was time to start playing offense. Nightwing and Flash were able to track down the lead assassin and take down their network with the help of their extended family of superhero allies. With the underground thrown into chaos because of his vendetta, Blockbuster was blacklisted. No one would take the Dick Grayson job. If he wanted Grayson dead, he'd have to do it himself, taking things to a level of danger you wouldn't believe. Nightwing does what Batman couldn't. At the grand opening of his shelter, The Haven, Dick unveiled a statue commemorating Alfred. It was a joyous enough moment that even Bruce and his dog Ace showed up to celebrate. Bruce told Dick that Alfred would be proud of what he had done in his memory, even if he would have hated the statue. But later that night, a group of masked men vandalized the place, including the statue of Alfred Pennyworth. Nightwing arrived to stop them and was able to unmask them long enough to use facial recognition software to find out their identities. They were crooked cops on Blockbuster's payroll, and vandalizing the place in the dead of night wasn't enough. As Nightwing cleaned the statue, more cops arrived on the scene and opened fire to stop him from fixing the damage. Nightwing quickly dispatched them, but more trouble came the next day. Using the vandalism as an excuse, the commissioner ordered his men to harass all of the kids who came to Haven for help and housing. Now it was time to go all out and bring Blockbuster down. With Barbara's help, Dick released footage of the cops who had actually committed the crime. It was enough to at least start cleaning up some of the corruption in the police force. But it was just a start. Knowing they worked for Blockbuster, Nightwing went all out to bring the king of the underworld down once and for all. He called in all the big guns he could, the Titans and the full Bat family. Together, they would attack from multiple angles and take down Blockbuster's empire in a single night. As his criminal enterprise crashed down around him, Blockbuster took a grenade launcher to Haven, destroying the Alfred Pennyworth statue and the entire shelter in a fiery explosion. Nightwing raced to the scene, where he heard children yelling for help in a burning building. Inside, Blockbuster held two kids in his hands, threatening to crush their heads in, his favorite murder method. The villain demanded Nightwing lay face down on the floor and put his weapons down. Nightwing knew this was no bluff. He did as demanded, and the kids were free to escape. But Nightwing was not so lucky. Blockbuster brutally beat Nightwing as he screamed, "You think you can change this city, Nightwing? I am the city!" In a ferocious display of rage, Blockbuster pummeled the hero until his mask came flying off. Now, the villain knew his two biggest threats were the same man. This made him even angrier. Although he did enjoy the idea of getting rid of both of his problems at the same time. But Grayson wasn't beaten yet. He was able to get back on his feet. The two fought amid the flames, with Nightwing unleashing his electric Eskrima sticks for an added edge. Even beaten down, Nightwing was one of the best fighters in the world. He flipped and kicked and used his agility to combat Blockbuster's super strength. As they fought, Nightwing couldn't help but tell the villain all that made him so sick of men like him. Men who could do anything and choose to hurt people. Men who have everything and still want to take more. This city deserves so much better. This city is done with you! Blockbuster hit back and threatened to murder everyone Dick loved. That was enough to give Nightwing the burst of anger he needed to finish off the villain. Trying to kill him was one thing, but threatening his loved ones, no way. Nightwing leapt to his feet and with a powerful kick sent Blockbuster soaring through a window and falling down from the third story to the ground below. Defeated, the hulking crime boss retreated into the night, slowed down but not stopped. That was until a mysterious figure approached and ripped his oversized heart out of his chest. Dick's identity was safe, and the biggest threat to his plans for positive change in the city was gone. With Alfred Pennyworth's legacy to guide him and a fortune that outshines Batman's, Nightwing will never stop fighting. I'm Anthony Fan, and thank you for watching Plot Armor Comics.